Hello, this is Brother Alexis Spagnola with From Rome Info Video here in Rome, Italy. At FromRome.info, I've already published in the last 3 weeks a great quantity of information about COVID-19 coronavirus, what it is or might be. But since I'm a Franciscan and I've studied moral theology and political philosophy in addition to theology, I now want to make a comment on your rights during the so-called pandemic. Okay, so if it is a true pandemic, then we should do what we can to prevent it from spreading. But at every turn where one looks for scientific information, one finds that there is nothing showing that's a pandemic. First of all, there's been no scientific isolation of the so-called virus. So even if COVID-19 exists, has a virus, there's no proof it's causing the symptoms that they're seeing. It might just be another bad influenza that hasn't been identified. And there's lots of reports now of people in November in the United States having the same symptoms of the flu. I know I had the same symptoms in January before COVID was even supposed to be in Italy. The second thing is the numbers are not tallying up to an epidemic. They're finding out that something like 50 to 80 times more people have caught COVID-19, if that's even the thing, than they thought. And so therefore it has very low mortality rates. But even still, the test they're using to claim you have it is completely unscientific. It's only used in laboratories, and even there it's not, it has high orders of magnitude of error in it. Excuse me, it's a street cleaner coming by, excuse me. I'll pause just a moment. So the people they claim have this, if it even exists, you're not even sure if they even have it, okay? The second thing is anyone dying from it? It's pretty clear that no one's dying from this in any significant numbers, because governments here in Europe, in Italy, and in the United States are falsifying. They're actually telling doctors to lie and write down on death certificates that if you died with it, you died of it. They don't even know you died with it because the tests are inaccurate. They could give anywhere from 50 to 80% incorrect figures because they're not testing for the virus. They're testing for an RNA strand, which could come from a number of organisms, okay? So, all the evidence shows that it's not a pandemic. Whether COVID-19 exists or not, that's immaterial. Is it a pandemic? If it's not a pandemic, and almost no one can die of it, whatever it is, then the state has no authority to destroy the national economy and to imprison everyone in their home. And since they have no authority to do that, according to the natural law, and they certainly don't have the authority according to constitutional law, your rights from God and your constitutional rights and civil law mean you don't have to observe any of the things they're saying, okay? All the corona controls, you don't have to observe. There's no more obligation, because if they're going to demand that of everyone, they have to prove it. And by their own actions, they show that they haven't, not only that they haven't proven it, but they know it's false, because they don't even try to prove it. They're trying to falsify it. So consequently, you have every right to go out of your house and do whatever you used to do. You have a right to work. You have the right to worship. You don't have, and anyone who's in the police, the military, you have a duty not to enforce these laws. You are committing a grave crime against the Constitution of your nation and the liberty of your fellow citizens if you can continue to enforce a false laws that are only justified in a real pandemic. Okay, so I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist, and I'm not saying some people don't die of it. And I'm not saying people with comorbidities shouldn't be put under quarantine and kept from catching this disease, okay? And but even for those who catch it, hydroxychloroquine, erythromycin, and zinc treatment is giving 99% cure rates. So even if it does exist, it's curable. So this is my message for all the free peoples in the world, from the city of Rome. Your freedom comes before any claim of a pandemic that hasn't been proven, okay? And you don't have to wait months in prison for them to prove it. They should have proven it before they even acted and established the so-called corona controls. So your national government has been lying to you, and if you trace back all these people and all these national governments, the money goes all back to Bill Gates, to the World Health Organization, and there are a lot of interests going on here. But basically what we have seen with this pandemic is a power grab of the top elites of the world to enslave the entire human race, okay? And we have to fight back, or we're just going to become cattle. And this is a battle for the freedom of the whole human race against a very small minority of criminals. And Bill Gates and Tony Fauci and everyone in the World Health Organization and the national governments leaders who put this into effect should be arrested by the citizens and tried for crimes against humanity and crimes against the natural rights of the whole human race. In addition, if they were involved in designing this deadly virus for bioweapons and mass murder, okay? But also for the destruction of the national economies of the world and the employment of hundreds of millions of individuals, and that is a capital crime. Okay, no greater crime has ever been committed in humanity, and we can't sit back and start saying, "Oh, we must obey him." No, you need to organize your neighborhood, you need to organize your town, you need to go protest at town hall, and if the people in town hall won't listen to you, you need to remove them from power. This is not we're not talking about violence here. We're talking about your rights before God. No one has the right to imprison you, and the Constitution of no nation on earth, except maybe in North Korea, gives the leaders the right to imprison you, okay? So I'm not saying don't obey just laws. I'm saying they're not just laws, and so you don't have to obey them. Those are totally two different things. And so we should obey laws, all just laws, even in a crisis like this. But we don't have to act as if there is a pandemic when there isn't a pandemic, okay? So what is a pandemic, just for people who have lost all contact with reality? A pandemic is when like 10% of the people are dying, okay? Bodies are in the street, and you catch it in a few hours, you're dead. It's not like here in Italy, 500 people dead a day. You see that in a normal influenza season. And what are they dying of, okay? So if you don't believe me, just look at national statistics from all the last 10 years in your nations. How many people died a day and what they died of? Was the nation shut down for that? So if the nation wasn't shut down for that, it shouldn't be shut down for this. And if it shouldn't be shut down for this, it is a crime to shut it down for this. It is a great crime of fraud. It's a crime of deceit. It's a crime of treachery. It's a crime against your natural rights and your constitutional rights. Your rights of free speech, free assembly, your rights of religion, your right to work. Okay, so none of the human beings can't sit down and let this take place to them, or we're going to become like cattle. And that's what they think of us. That's why they all want to put a chip in us and monitor where we're going. So don't accept any of those methods for watching where you're going, or insist that you must submit to them to go back to work. That's absolute foolish. But you have to start in the local level with your mayor and your local police. You have to win them to your side, or you have to replace them, okay? And in a crisis like this, you don't have to wait for the next election, because the threat is so great that the people have the right to replace their leaders, okay? Just meet in town, have a vote, and vote them right out. And if they won't go out, you put them in jail. You lock them all up, even if you have to lock up every policeman in town, okay? And every politician in the town hall, because they're psychopathic, okay? Psychopathy, they're psychotic psychopaths, because psychosis is when you're not acting in accord with the reality. And it's obviously not a pandemic. So if you think it is, you're psychotic, okay? Psychopathic is when a person abandons all morality. And anyone who would enslave everyone in town, lock them in their house for a disease that doesn't exist, or even if it's just a common cold, they're psychopathic. And you have to get rid of them, because you have to remove them from power, because when you let psychopaths run your nation, you get the result of what happened in Germany under Adolf Hitler. So this is my message tonight. And maybe I'll be in prison tomorrow for saying it, but someone has to say it. And spread it, share it, download it, and put it on different platforms, and so it can't be erased. God bless. This is from Rome Info, Brother Alexis Bugnello from Rome, Italy.